Hi, I'm Bob.Woolverton, your Northwest Realty Advisor, and how are you on this fine day? Me? I'm excited to talk about, believe it or not, escalator clauses. Escalator clauses is one of those things that real estate agents deal with on a daily basis. And yet, when we mention it to clients, we just take it for granted that they know what we're talking about. But if we really listen to what the client's saying, what we're hearing is they're saying, I don't understand. But sometimes they don't ask. So that's that's the topic of today's episode is escalator clauses and what they mean to you. Okay, so what is an escalator clause? Basically, an escalator clause is an ability for you to pay more for a house if it's absolutely necessary, but that way you don't pay way more than the asking price if you absolutely don't have to. And what I mean by that is, let's say you are interested in a house that's $500,000. So you make a full price offer thinking this is a good fair offer, $500,000. And then you find out that somebody else offered $502,000. You say, well, I could have easily done 502 or 503 or 505, and I would have willingly paid that to get this house. In essence, you lost a house over $2,000. So if you're in a situation where you know it's going to be a competitive bidding situation, you can put in your offer of $500,000 and then say, but if somebody gives me or submits an offer that's higher than mine, I'm willing to better their offer by another $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever the incremental amount is to a specific cap. If that escalator clause is exercised, the seller has to show you the other offer that forced that escalator clause to be enacted. They can't just say, oh, well, you got a maximum cap of this, we're going to take that. Doesn't work that way. Unless there's an offer that's more than yours, the escalator clause doesn't get activated. So let's talk about how that escalator clause works. So in essence, the house has a listing price of $500,000. Now, if you had to, you could be ready and willing to pay up to $515 for this particular house. So that's the question that I just asked. What if you put an offer for $500 and somebody else puts in an offer for $505? Well, that's where the escalator clause would kick in. Now, here's the thing that I have to caution clients on all the time is don't get caught up in the auction frenzy, if you will. In essence, you have to decide what your limit is. And if your limit is $515,000 and it winds up selling for $516,000, so in essence, again, for a mere $1,000 you lost the house, you have to say $515 was my limit. It obviously wasn't meant to be, and I'm moving on. And be good with that, because that's just the reality of the world. Because otherwise you get caught up in a bidding war and you could potentially wind up bidding way more than you can afford. So decide what you can afford, set your limit, and if it's not good enough, then reality is it just wasn't meant to be. And we're going to live with that and move on. Now, the way that you execute an escalator clause is through the Form 35E. Now, your initial offering price is listed in the purchase and sale agreement, which is the Form 21, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And then you also submit a Form 35E, which basically says if there's an offer higher than mine, then we'll exercise the Form 35E. Now, in this particular instance, let's move over. So here's the purchase and sale agreement of an actual offer that was made, and you can see in line 6 here, the purchase price, or the listing price was $830,000. This buyer offered $830,000. They were going to put down $5,000 in earnest money. Now, on the escalator clause, the Form 35E, that would be this form here, same transaction. So where we offered $830,000 at the listing price, it said if somebody gives an offer higher than ours, we are willing to better their offer in increments of $1,100 to a maximum cap of $851,675. So in essence, if there's another offer that's higher than that $851,675, it's just going to go to that person. So here we started at $830,000. This buyer was willing and able to go to $851,675. They wanted this house that bad. This is what they were willing to pay for. Ultimately, this house went for way more than that. But this is a perfect example of how an escalator clause works, how the buyer set their limit, and it didn't work out. So, okay, it wasn't meant to be. Let's move on, find the house that is meant to be. But this is how you enact it. And you can see in this case, it was done in $1,100 increments to try to give them a little bit of a competitive advantage in this bidding war. Ultimately, the top amount just wasn't enough. So now let's say that you are successful. Let's go back to our $500,000 example. Let's say we put in an offer for $500,000. We did an escalator clause to $515,000, and that was a successful offer. So now we're in contract at $515,000. Well, now your lender is going to send the appraiser out to appraise the market value of this house. And what happens if the appraiser says, well, this house isn't worth $515,000, it's only worth $500,000, or it could potentially even be less. Maybe they say it's only worth $480,000. Well, let's just stick with $500,000. So the appraiser says it's only worth $500,000. The bank is not going to give you a loan on a value of $515,000. They're going to give you a loan on a $500,000 value. So you're going to be $15,000 short. So what are your options in this sort of case? In essence, going into it, if you have enough cash, you could waive the appraisal and tell the seller, even if the appraisal comes in low, I've got enough cash, I'll just make a larger down payment, which will in essence cover that $15,000 gap in the example we just used. So I'll pay the $15,000 plus my regular down payment so that you'll still get your $515,000 sale price. Or you could protect yourself a little bit and say, well, right now I gave you $15,000 more than your asking price. So what I'm willing to do is, just in case the appraisal comes in lower, I'm willing to give you $15,000 more than the appraisal price should it come in lower than $500,000. So in essence, if it comes in at $480,000, well then we're looking at a sales price of $495,000 that you'd be willing to do. So that's an option you could do too. You could negotiate with the seller to lower their sale price to the appraisal amount. So in essence, you offered $515,000, but it appraised at $500,000. You can negotiate for them to lower their sales price to $500,000, which you could also make the argument that nobody else is going to be able to pay more than $500,000 because that's what the appraisal says the market value is. So you could make that argument and you could negotiate that, or you could just walk away from the deal. So these are the options that you can deal with. But overall, that's how you deal with an escalator clause. So you basically make your offer for the house, and if you think that it may go for more and you're ready, willing, and able to pay more, because you don't want to lose the house over a $1,000 increment. Like I said, you bid $501,000, somebody bids $501,000, or excuse me, you bid $500,000, somebody else bids $501,000. You don't want to lose a house because of $1,000. So if you're ready, willing, and able to pay more, then you can put that in an escalator clause, and it gets exercised, but only if it's necessary. Now, one caveat, one caution on that. Before you do that, you want to make sure that there's going to be a multiple offer situation. Because if there's not going to be a multiple offer situation, since you're the only offer coming in, you don't want to attach the 35E, the escalator clause, to it and say, well, I'm willing to go to $515,000 when there's nobody to bid against, because the seller could say, I'm not going to accept your full price offer. Matter of fact, I'm going to counter at $515,000. Take it or leave it. So that could put you in a poor negotiating position if you do an escalator clause and there's no other offers. But if it's a multiple offer situation, your agent will be able to find that out ahead of time, and you have a desire to put an escalator clause, this is how they work. I hope you found value in today's information on escalator clauses. If you did, please click the subscribe button. That's all that I ask. Again, escalator clauses, they're very situational. This topic deserves more detailed discussion. If you'd like to have more detailed discussion, throw a comment my way. I'm in the greater Seattle area. I'd love to meet you for a cup of coffee. My name's Bob.Woolverton. I'm your Northwest Realty Advisor. We've got new videos every week. Thank you for your time.